This is the Voice of Victory with the presiding bishop of the Victory Bible Church International, Bishop N.A. Takia Boy. We are blessed with growing and thriving churches within and outside Ghana, and our mission is to convert people within our community in all creative ways, developing them into fully functioning followers of Christ. Now, today's message. Hear the voice of the Spirit.
I've been changed, healed, free, delivered. I found joy, peace, grace, and favor. I've been changed, I've been changed, healed, free, delivered. I found joy, grace, and favor. I've been changed. I've been healed, free. I've been delivered. I found joy. Peace in His presence. By His grace we are alive. And favor. And right now is today. I've been changed. I've been changed. I have waited for this moment to come. I'm not gonna turn back. I won't let it pass me by. So we say, I won't go back. I can't go back to the way it used to be before your presence came and changed me. No, I won't go back. I can't go back to the way it used to be before your presence came and changed me. No, I won't go back. Say, I won't go back. I can't go back to the way it used to be before your presence came and changed me. Never going back. I am never going back. Never going back to the way it was. I'm never going back. I am never going back. No, never go to the way. We're never going back. I am never going back. No, never going back to the way. We're never going back. Never going back. I am never going back. No, never going back to the way it was. Life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. Life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. myself to you. Dear Lord, my life is not my own. To you, Lord, I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. Give myself to you, Lord. I give myself to you. Oh, my life is not my own. To you I belong. Give myself. I give myself. Give myself away. Oh Lord, give myself away. So you can use me.
Thank you, Jesus. For I am the Lord who restores. I am the Lord that goes ahead of you. I am the Lord. I am the Lord that when you sacrifice, I'll render unto you. I am the Lord. I am the Lord that I reveal because I desire to redeem. And my people should have a light ear to hear my dispensation when I speak. Give a clap offering this morning unto the Lord. For the Lord our God, He is mighty and is in our midst. In Jesus' name. Amen. Once again, give a clap offering unto the Lord. Today, the Lord has been good to us. The Lord has spoken. And you realize that He started speaking long. Right from the beginning of the year, He's been speaking. Revelations upon revelation, knowledge. I mean, there are times you wonder. And even this morning when we were sitting down, another revelation popped up. It popped out when the man of God was speaking. And I realized that any time since God called Abraham, any time and whenever and wherever, He raises an altar. Whenever the revelation of the Lord hits him, favor from God comes to him, deliverance comes to him, he raises an altar. This morning I'm here to encourage us that our giving should not only depend on the offering we come to give, but as we go along in the ministration, be it song ministration, word ministration, let's learn to raise an altar. Because the Lord our God believes in sacrifice. Let's raise an altar. We had it very good this morning. The man of God revealed to us, and he affirmed the fact that heaven on earth, we have a work to do. We have a work to do to affirm God's visitation on earth. The first day we learned that there is void somewhere because of chaos. Because that which was supposed to be is not. And if that which was supposed to be was not, then something is not. And today the man of God will reveal to us. He will lead us through to know what is not, to affirm that indeed there is a void. With a clap offering, let us welcome onto the podium Reverend Edmund Kwaku to take us through the day.
His glory feels like heaven on earth. Something's moving, something's changing. See His glory feels like heaven. Something's moving, changing. See His glory feels like heaven on earth. Yes, lightning and thunder, miracles and wonders, sound of many waters, heaven on earth. Lightning and thunder, miracles and sound of many waters, heaven on earth. Oh, heaven on earth. Amen. Hallelujah. Something is moving. Something is moving. And we're going to see His glory. We are going to see His glory. We are going to see His glory. Oh, hallelujah. See His glory. Feels like something's moving. Something's moving. Changes. See His glory. Feels like something's moving. Changes. See His glory. Feels like heaven on earth. Heaven on Shall we share a word of prayer? Lord, we are before your presence. Let the heavens be open unto us. I am praying that each one of us will hear your voice clearly and grant us direction to life, that will have victory in our lives. Use me as a channel and minister the word of grace unto your people, that we will live here blessed. In Jesus' name, amen. Hallelujah. Please be seated. I'm speaking on the theme, God fights for us. God fights for us. But He will prepare us. He will prepare our hands for war and our fingers for fighting. He fights for us, but He will prepare us for self-defense, so that anytime, anywhere, we can defend ourselves. Last Thursday this week, I shared a word and I gave an example, like when we're talking of heaven on earth, it's just like getting your honey from the beehives. You need to set fire on the bees to kill the bees, then you can have the honey from the beehives. Our 21-day prayer and fasting is like fire on the bees. Some of them will die, but some will run away, but some will attack you also. What you have to do is to continue to fire. You have to send the fire. The fire must continue. Otherwise, those that will attack you, if you are not careful, you will leave the fire behind and run away. And you might not get your honey. So getting the honey requires, one, that your fire must continue to burn. Two, because the bees might attack you, and surely they will attack you, you need to dress well.
You see, if you leave your body and the bees attack your body and they sting you, if you are not careful and attempt to get the honey, they can even kill you. And that is why you need to put on the right clothing. And this year for heaven on earth, for you to enjoy the heaven on earth, your fire must be on always. And you must put on the whole armor of God. You must clothe yourself right. Otherwise, the beast might attack you. When you read Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 11 to 18. Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 11 to 18. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. So dressing well, put the belt of truth. Let's be truthful to ourselves. You need the money from the friend for business, and that's why the friend has given you the money for business. Don't use the money for funeral clothing or adoring clothing. You will not be able to pay back. And that will become another story, an unending lying story. Put truth, the belt of truth on. Put on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always. So after putting on the right clothing, you need to pray always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all sins. So 2 things that you need to do to have your honey from the beehives. Your fire must be on. Put on the right clothing, that even when they attack you, they cannot sting you. And by that, as your fire is on, they will die and you can go for your honey. May the Lord help us that we can have our honey the year that we are expecting heaven to come down for us. We need to prepare ourselves and be ready. Without preparation, you cannot have what you want. I learned from the man who I understand was the first billionaire in the world. And he said that he might not be very eloquent and he might not be very brilliant, but he was reliable. I'm talking about Rockefeller. He said he might not be brilliant, but he was reliable. And he went about his work with patient persistence, applying himself diligently to preparation, knowing that for every victory and every success requires preparation. So for us to enjoy heaven on earth, we need to prepare ourselves. Arm yourselves. Put on the right clothing and engage God in prayer. Invoke the Lord Jesus in your prayer, and then you will see the blessings, because then you can have the honey and you can enjoy the honeycomb. Amen. The Lord fights for us. That is the theme for this morning. I realize that when eventually the Egyptians gave the right for the Israelites to leave, they still had to chase them. And looking through the scripture, I realized that they chased them with the best of the chariots. 600 best of their chariots. And all the chariots of Egypt. Mind you, Egypt had the best civilization at that time. The best technology. And so if they are chasing them with the best of their chariots, being driven by their smartest guys, but the best cannot be driven by any fool. It must be driven by someone who is smart and fast and wise. And my question is, even if God had opened the sea for them, which God did, there was no way Israelites could run because they had their children with them. They had their goats and their sheep and their camel. So it was a slow movement. And for a slow movement and for the best of chariots to chase you, there is no way the Israelites could have escaped the Egyptians. There was no way. And when God opened the sea for them, they would have outrun them. But God did something. When you read Exodus chapter 14, verse 7, if God He wants to take care of your enemies, He makes sure that the best and all that they have, He surrounds them around you. In the natural, when you look back to see, you'll be so much afraid. But it is all the plans of God to make sure that the best of their weapons against you, He will deal with the best. And He took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. Took 600 chosen and all the chariots of Egypt, and they were after the Israelites, the best of the chariots. And you know, the story that we know is that God led the sea came against them, but they could have overrun the Israelites before the sea came. What God did was that when He saw that they were so close, He sent confusion unto them. He sent confusion unto them. And then after that, He removed all the wheels of the chariots. He removed all the wheels of the chariots and grounded all the chariots. Because when the chariots are grounded, no matter the strength of the horses, because the chariots are grounded, there is no way they can go. There is no way they can outrun the Israelites. So it was not that God intentionally brought out the best of the Egyptians and brought out all the chariots of the Egyptians. And indeed, when the Israelites saw them, they were so afraid. But God knew what He was about to do. He sent confusion to them. And then He grounded all the chariots. Today I speak to you. Every enemy on any chariot against your life, God will remove the wheels of the chariots. God will ground the chariots of your enemies. Those in armored cars, God will take the tires away. And those who think they can run, He will cut off their toes and see if they can run. When you read verse 22, And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground. And the waters were a wall unto them, on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea. Even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the hosts of the Egyptians. Other version said, and sent confusion into the hosts of the Egyptians. He troubled the hosts of the Egyptians. You know, Moses already told them, the Egyptians that you see today, you will not see them anymore. And he says, stand still and see the salvation of God, that he fights for you and he will fight for you. And that is what God did. He first sent confusion into the camp of the Egyptians. I'm sure they got to the point, and some of the leaders were, should we still pursue or should we still go back? Confusion started. And not only that, verse 25, and took off the chariots' wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. The Lord will take the wheels of the chariots of your enemies. Your enemies will know that this one, it is the doing of the Lord. Your enemies will conclude that this one, it is the doing of the Lord. They will have to turn back and flee away from you. Moses said, the Egyptians you see, you will see them no more. When they saw that the wheels of their chariots are all removed, it was an indication that this one is God who is fighting for them. Who came to remove the wheels of all the chariots? 600 best chariots. And all the chariots of the Egyptians, the wheels are all removed. You call, my chariots' wheels are removed, we can't move. My chariots' wheels are removed, we can't move. Because it will be a long queue of chariots. The last person, my chariots' wheels are removed, we can't move. Already confusion has started. And about which you can use to chase the Israelites, God has grounded you all. And once you are grounded, and that was why when the next moment God said, verse 26, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come against upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horses. Because God had already grounded them, there was no way they could escape. I speak to somebody here this morning that God will ground your enemies. Those that now you seem to fear because the beasts are coming against you. Because normally when you start firing and start praying, sometimes from nowhere it looks like the problems are becoming more. Yeah, because you have disturbed the beasts. And because you have disturbed the beasts, you have moved them from their comfort zone. So they are ready to attack. And that is why God said you need also to prepare yourself to attack. And I was surprised when God said that when you prepare your hands for war and your fingers for fighting, it is he does that for you out of his loving heart. So if God, you are preparing me for battle, that is the love you can give to me. But God said that is the love he can give it to you when he prepares you for battle. Besides that God will fight for you, you need to have self-defense. And so in Psalm 144, I love it if it is in the New International Version. Psalm 144 verse 1 to Blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. Blessed be. The New International Version says, praise be the Lord. Praise be to the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. Who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. And he does that out of his loving kindness. Hi. Verse 2 says, he is my loving God. He trains your hands for war and your fingers for battle because he loves you. And that is why this morning I want you to know that heaven on earth, you must train your hands for war. You must train your hands for war, your fingers for battle. You can't get your honor just by going and telling the beast, beast, move away. This year is heaven on earth for me. And for the beast to move away, they will fight you. And you need to fight back. The fire must be on. So he trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He says, the psalmist says, praise be to the Lord, my rock who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. Verse 2, he is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge, who subdues people under me. He is the God who will subdue your enemies under you. Because he trains your hands for war and your fingers for battle. And he will send lightning unto your enemies. Verse 5. Part your heavens, Lord, and come down. Lord, open the heavens. Bow down your head. From the heavens, look down on us. Come down. Touch the mountains. And Bishop has spoken to us about the mountains. The mountains of success, the mountains of your marriage, the mountains of your business, the mountains of your children. And the psalmist said, Lord, Isaiah will say, rend in the heavens. But the psalmist is saying, Lord, part your heavens. Bow your head a little. And come and touch the mountains. So that they smoke. Set fire on the mountains. Send forth lightning and scatter the enemy. Shoot your arrows and rout them. That is the prayer for the heavens to come down for you. And that is the prayer of training your hands for war. Lord, send the lightning and scatter the enemy. Send your lightning and scatter the enemy. Shoot your arrows. Disengage the activities over my life. Those that want to trouble me, Lord, ground them. Let them fall into their own pits. Crush them down. Let them not have a voice against me. That is preparing your hands for war. Your fingers for fighting. And I see that this year you are fighting. You'll be a fighter. This year you will be a fighter. You will fight to take delivery of your finances, to take delivery of your children, to take delivery of your business. You will fight. When you fight, he will send confusion into your enemies. And you take the wheels of the chariots of your enemies. He will send lightning and scatter your enemies. He will send arrows and wrap them all. Becoming defensive and becoming offensive. That's the way for victory. Defend yourself and you are attacking. Don't sit down. Because the anointing comes so that the enemy will not exert upon you. When you read Psalm 89, from verse 19. Psalm 89 from verse 19. Once you spoke in a vision to your faithful people, you said, I have bestowed strength on a warrior. Strength on a warrior. I have raised up a young man from among the people. You must be a warrior. I have found David, my servant, with a sacred oil. I have anointed him. My hand will sustain him. Surely my arm will strengthen him. The enemy will not get the better of him. This year, the enemy will not get the better of you. The King James Version says the enemy will not exert upon you, nor the son of wickedness afflict you. The enemy will not get the better of you. The son of wickedness will not afflict you because you are a warrior. The enemy shall not exert upon him, nor the son of wickedness afflict him. He will beat down your foes. And I will beat down his foes before his face and pluck them that hate him. This is the promise of God to you. He will beat down your enemies before your face and plague them that hate you. Verse 24. And my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. Hallelujah. In his name, your horn will be exalted. It might look like the floods are coming against you. It must look like the voices from the flood is speaking negative against you. People are asking, when are we expecting you? When is your breakthrough coming? When is your marriage coming? When are your children coming? When are you going to get work to do? When are you going to be yourself? Yeah, the flood might come up against you. When you read Psalm 93, Psalm 93 from verse 1. The Lord reigneth. He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself. The word also is established that it cannot be moved. The word is established. It cannot be moved. So it looks like what you are going through is established. It looks like nothing can be done to what you are going through. It looks like it's the same story. Year after year. The same thing you have written. God, by the end of this year, I want to see this, I want to see that. And it looks like at the end of 31st, you are still writing the same thing. But I am here to tell you, the hour has come, because he is now giving you knowledge, and in understanding you shall be men. God is ready, because now he is preparing your hands for war. He is ready to deliver to you, because every victory must come out of battle. Without battle, there can never be any victory. The battle you are going through, it is because there is victory for you. So David said, the world is established. It cannot be moved. Hey, but let's go to verse 2. Thy throne is established of old. Thou art from everlasting. Yet the world is established, but your throne is also established from of old to everlasting. You are on the throne. He is on the throne. Yeah, the situation is there, but he is on the throne. And because he is on the throne, he will speak. And because he will speak, he will change the situation for you. The word is established, but he has been on the throne from of old unto everlasting. Isaiah said his name shall be called Wonderful. Wonderful. Everlasting Father. He is a father who doesn't die. It is not in tree. You can say ejebi wu ejebi dia ejebi wu ejebi ti asinti. You did that die home. When you are yeja oti asedada. Oyeja omu obi timi nada. He is everlasting Father. He will never die for anybody to take his place who will not take care of you. He is your everlasting Father, ever-loving Father. He doesn't die. He will continue to take care of you. He loves you. He gave his blood as an exchange for you. He is so jealous, watching over you to make sure you make it. He will make sure you make it. He is everlasting Father. And he's a faithful Father. Our counselor. He will show us the way. He will defeat the enemies for us. His throne is established of old, that are from everlasting. Verse 3 says that the floors have lifted up their voice. Verse 3. The floors have lifted up, oh Lord. The floors have lifted up their voice. The floors lift up their voice. You've been hearing the voices. But the Lord on high, the Lord on high, he is mightier than the noise of many waters. He is mightier than the mighty waves, and he will fight the battle for you. Yes, the floors, it looks like even after the fasting, the floors are now speaking. It looks like the problem is going over. It's just coming above you. It looks like you are swimming now in the problem. And I'm here to tell you, the Lord on high, he is mightier. His throne is established from of old to everlasting. The Lord on high is mightier. Verse 4, the Lord on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, yea, than the mighty waves of the sea. The Lord is with you. The Lord on high is with you. And he's going to crash down. He was with them in the boat, and the waves came. He was with them. So the fact that the waves, the floors have lifted their waves, the fact that the floors have lifted their voice, does not mean that he's not with you. When you read Mark chapter 4, Mark chapter 4, from verse 35, and the same day when the evening was come, he said to them, let us pass over to the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on the pillow. And they awoke him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? He was with them in the boat, but the waves came. The fact that he's with you does not mean that the waves will not come. The fact that he's with you does not mean that the storm will not lift up their voice. But what he wants you to do is to wake him up in prayer. Wake him in action. Wake him up in action. Because when you wake him up, he will speak peace. Sea, be still. And he arose. He did two things. He rebuked the wind and said to the sea, peace, be still. Every contrary wind in your life must be rebuked. And every sea, Every flood rising up with noise against you, you must shut that noise down. Be still. When they ask you, when are you marrying? Be still. Shut every noise down. Jesus rebuked the wind and spoke to the sea. You must speak to your sea. When you read Mark chapter 11 verse 23, Mark 11 verse 23, for verily I say unto you that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. So for the mountains in your life, for the sea, speak to them. Speak to your storm. Don't speak about the storm. Listen to me. I say speak to the storm, and don't speak about the storm. Shut the mouth of the noise of the storm. Storm, be still. Sea, be still. Speak, but don't speak about it. Don't go about it. You don't know what I'm going through. The storm that is coming to my life, don't talk about the storm. Speak to the storm. Are you getting me? Be strong and be violent in prayer. Be strong and be violent. The floors have lifted up their voice, but the Lord on high is mightier. The one who is backing you is mightier. So speak to that storm. Storm, be still, be quiet, be silent. Every noise, be silent. They can't be talking blah, 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 blah against us and have their own way. No. Shut every mouth speaking ill against you. Shut every mouth speaking negatively against you. Still every voice. And rebuke every wind. That is what Jesus did. And we need to follow that example. Rebuking every wind. And stilling every sea. Speaking to every mountain in our way. Believing that he's a faithful God. He watches over his word to perform. He will perform on your behalf. He is training our hands to war. So don't give up. I said, don't give up. Jesus showed it to us, and he used a widow. In Luke chapter 18, verse 1, he gave a parable that men ought always to pray and not to faint. It means if you don't pray, you will faint. You will collapse. That is straight. And he spoke about a parable unto them to this end that men ought always to pray. So don't come out and tell me that I've prayed enough. That is what you are supposed to do. You see, because you are working, you are getting money, you don't say, I've worked too much, cry. But I have prayed too much enough. And sometimes that enough is not even enough. That is what you are supposed to do. Because if you don't pray, you will collapse. To faint means to collapse. Sometimes we need to understand it in that way. And that is why Jesus used a widow. Because what can the judge get out of the widow? No incentive. And these days, sometimes with that incentive, you don't receive help. Oh. Sometimes, what is yours even with that incentive? They will look at your face. How did you come? And so, yes. Martin is with you and you are asking, and so, yes. Give it to me. What that is which is with you. And so, yes. Looking at your face for something. And that's why Jesus used a widow. So disadvantaged. That because she's so disadvantaged, if she could persist and have her way, God is telling us we need to shamelessly persist. Shamelessly persist. And you see, in verse 3, and there was a widow in the city, and she came unto him saying, avenge me of my adversary. And he will not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she worry me. Oh, so there is something that can replace, I won't call it bribe. Somebody might call it bribe. But something that can entice favor, or something that can entice somebody to work on your behalf. You might not have it, but there's something that can be used to replace your persistent prayer. Your persistent prayer, your persistent prayer can be used to replace that bribe, can be used to replace that incentive that the guy is looking for. Yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge. And the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge saith. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him? Though he bear long with them, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? So what kind of faith is Jesus talking about? The kind of faith he's talking about is that of the woman of shameless persistence. Shameless persistence. That is the kind of faith. Not giving up. No matter what. Continually firing, praying, consistently praying. Again, I learned about the biography of Rockefeller, and he said that he was so consistent with what he was doing. And he called this one patient persistence. He says he is into patient persistence. And he has not enrolled himself in the school of complaining and explaining. He said he has not enrolled himself in that school of complaining and explaining. I am praying that if you have enrolled in that school, you will ask the registrar to cancel your name from that school. Cancel your name from the school of complaining and explaining. Cancel your name from the school of complaining and explaining. And continue with your shameless persistence. Continue with your prayer. Knowing that God will speedily come into your situation to save the situation. If you don't give up, he will speedily. He will speedily. You see, sometimes he will not give the whole thing to you in one whole piece. When you read Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 and 22 says that he will send his angels ahead of you. Your enemies will become his enemies. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. 22. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, an adversary unto thy adversaries. May you prepare yourself. May you adorn yourself with the righteousness of God. May you have the right standing with God always, so that your enemies will become the enemies of God. That God will fight the battle for you. That God will pride himself that you are his faithful servant, faithful son, faithful daughter. May you prepare yourself. May you prepare your hands for war. May you prepare your fingers for fighting. And may you continually stay in his presence, in prayer with him. It is despite all that Moses saw about the doings of God, he saw us if your presence will not go with us. He saw all the acts of God. He himself was involved in those acts. He saw the miracles, but he still insisted the presence of God. And it is your continuous prayer that will bring the presence. And if he goes with you, Bishop has shown us the presence can be an angel going with you. And when an angel goes with you and you obey the voice of the angel, then your enemies will become his enemies. Your adversaries will become his adversaries. In verse 27 to 30, I will send my fear before thee, and will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come. And I will make all the enemies turn their backs unto thee, just like it did to the Egyptians. And I will send hornets before thee. I was checking the meaning of the hornets, and I saw that they are in the same family with the bees. You see, by this kind of hornets, you see, just like the bees, you have to fight the bees for your honey. The bees can sting you once or twice, but the hornets, they will sting you multiple times. And when they sting you, your face will be swollen immediately. That's the difference. And Bible says that just like you are fighting bees for your honey, God will send hornets to drive away your enemies. He will send hornets to drive away your enemies. And I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before thee. I will not drive out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and little I will drive them out before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land. Little by little I will drive them. I have set in motion a business on your behalf. And that is why I was asking God that there's this battle I have gone through. God said, I am training your hands for war. Because after this battle, there will be another battle. Because it should be victory over victory, and victory upon victory. And it's victory and victory and victory. And you can't have victory and victory and victory without battle and battle and battle. So he's training our hands for war. He's training our hands for war. Because he's not giving you the whole package once. He says, I will drive them out gradually so that you will be established. And when you are established, because if you are not established and the breakthrough comes, that breakthrough will kill you. If you are not established in the school of life, going through the ups and downs, and you make your money quickly, that money will kill you quickly. You must go through the school of life so that when you have received it, you know this is from God. Then you can ask God, what do I do with this? And he said, give a portion to me so that I can continually maintain that which you have and increase that which you have for you. But if you don't go through that school of life, because God is not a magician. It was the first Adam that was created a full-grown man. The Bible said the last Adam was born a child who must grow. So God is not going to create a full-grown miracle for you. Your miracle, you have to grow through to have the miracle every day. The first Adam was a full-grown man. The Bible said the last Adam was born in a manger. The manager of the universe was born in a manger. And he had to grow. The Bible says he grew in wisdom with man, and God in stature and in favor with God and man. So you need to grow. It is not a day's provision. It's a daily activity. Give us this day our daily bread. It is everyday activity. God wants us to come to him every day. And that is why every morning he has a tradition to come to us with his new mercies. So that every day we have to receive from him. Every day. So he said he will drive out your enemies, not 1 year. So I'm preparing you. The battle is not for 1 year. The heaven on earth is not for January. You have set in motion. He's preparing your hands for war and your fingers for fighting. May the Lord give you the strength. May he open your understanding. That in understanding you will know how to hang out with him. So that you are not ready, just give me 5 minutes and let me go. You need to hang out with him. Hang out with him. So that you can have the breakthrough. I remember it just came into my time is up. I was going to share something like and hanging out with God says you Matthew 26:41. If you can give that one to us. Because sometimes I realize when the problems are so much, I prefer to stay and pray. One time my wife asked, won't you go? I said, darling, to where? The office there. There's so many office there. I need a way out. So there's no way to just go out. It is only the devil who goes up and down. I don't want to be like the devil. So let me stay and hang out with him so that I can hear his voice and get direction. Then I can go out. So don't rush going out when you know you don't have the solution to yourself. Wait on him for some solution, for some direction. And he said, when he came back to his disciples, he found them asleep. He said to Peter, can't you stick out with me a single hour? 40 hours. Stay alert. Be in prayer. So you don't wander into temptation without even knowing you are in danger. There is a part of you that is eager, ready for anything in God. But there is another part that is as lazy as an old dog sleeping by the fire. Don't let that part as lazy as an old dog sleep by the fire. Keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning and your beast will die and you can have your honor. Don't be as lazy as an old dog. Don't be as lazy as an old dog. Spend time. Hang around him. Let his presence come into your life. Then when you go out with his leading. And when he leads you, you will never test. May the Lord help you with this understanding. And may this understanding, may you war the war against the enemies of your life. And may God remove the wheels of the chariots of your enemies. May God remove the wheels of the chariots of your enemies. May God remove the tires of the cars of your enemies. And may God cut off the toes of those running to chase you. May God crop them down. May God crush them down. May God disable them. May your name be glorified because he fights for you. May the Lord on high, who is mightier than the noise of many waters, than the mighty waves, stop every weight in your life. May your life begin to flourish. I said, may your life begin to flourish. May every seed that you have sown begin to flower. May every seed you have sown begin to flower. May your seeds begin to flower. May God lead you and direct you. May his grace locate you and find you. May you be another person. May you be another person. From today, may you be another person. You will not be like an old lazy dog. lying beside the fire, may you kindle the fire. May you kindle the fire. And may the fire kill all the bees that you can have your honey. May God bless you. You want to rise up? You want to say a prayer to God? I have come to realize when you have a covenant with Him, the covenant will speak. You want to make a covenant with God. You want to say, God, the rest of my life, I'm going to follow you. Lead me. In Isaiah 48 verse 21, he said, when he led them, they tested not. He brought water out of the rock because he is the rock. You want to say, Lord, lead me. Lead me and direct my life and guide my steps. I just want you to offer just a minute prayer to God. Make a covenant with God. Make a decision. Life is about decision. When you decide to live right with Him, decide to live right with Him. Decide that you will clothe yourself with the righteousness of God. Then the beauty of God can come upon you. Then the fear of God will go ahead of you. Whilst all others are praying, if Jesus is not the Lord of your life, I want to give you the opportunity to accept Jesus Christ. If you are here, Jesus is not the Lord of your life. You want to give your life to Jesus. Raise your hand wherever you are and I pray with you. If you want to give your life to Jesus, Jesus is not the Lord of your life. You want to give your life to Jesus Christ. Raise your hand wherever you are and I pray with you. Raise your hand. If you have raised your hand, come to me. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Come to me. Today is the day of salvation. We are not going to be the same. We will not allow the enemy to trample down upon us. We will take our rightful place. Bible says with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth you confess unto salvation. You want to pray and say, Lord Jesus, I have come as I am. I accept you as my Lord and my Savior. Make my life a brand new from today going. I want to follow you. Help me. I thank you for saving my life. Because you have said it, let it be so. In Jesus' name. Declare church. If you are clapping, clap and talk to God. God bless you.
Hallelujah. Let's keep clapping. Let's keep clapping. Let's thank God for such a mighty
Thank you
word.
for listening to the Voice of Victory from Victory Bible Church International. We believe in the ability of God's words to change lives. So, having been blessed by today's message, please find time to visit our Dominion Sanctuary, situated at Awoshi Junction off Tetekwashi Malam Motorway, or any of our branches wherever you may be. For more information, please call 0242 186 634 or 0289101540. You can visit our website www.vbcint.com or www.takiyaboy.com. Takiya Boy is spelled TAKIEYARBOI. Please send your mails to takiyaboy@gmail.com or vbcint@gmail.com. For your prayer request or prompt response, send your short SMS to 0270337766 or 0244143363. And for daily inspirational messages from the Bishop, send VBCI to short code 1496. Victory Bible Church International. Jesus is our victory, for there is no God like Jehovah.
There is no God like